Hey everybody, welcome to Lamb Living. My name is Holly Lamb, and in today's video I'm going to be demonstrating 3 of the $5 craft kits from the Dollar Tree. I don't know if you've noticed in the Crafter Square in most Dollar Trees, or if they have the Dollar Tree Plus items. One of our Dollar Trees in Glenn County doesn't have Plus yet. But the other 3 have these, and I've been kind of eyeing them for a while. So I decided for the 5 Under 5 challenge here in June. We're doing summer decor for the 5 Under 5 challenge. Here we go. Our hosts always are Emily from Farm Charm Chic, and then our guest host is Tammy from Happiness Created. The description box has the playlist, which I'm sure is going to be fabulous. But I decided to do these to demonstrate the $5 kits, and so we're going to start with this one, which is a paint kit, and it has a wood round and some stencils and the paints, and so I'm going to go ahead and get those out. This one, I thought this is going to be an easy one because I do a lot of painting and stenciling, which I love, and it comes with this little set of acrylic paints, and the hardest part about this was opening those little paint little tubs. They were tough. All right, so I did read through the instructions. There is a QR code for each one on the box that you can go to, and it'll send you to a YouTube channel that has demos, and they demonstrate the exact kit that you're using, which is really nice, I thought. I didn't look at this one, but I will be using the next one because I do a lot of painting and stenciling. I decided to just dive right in. Now, I got really tired of that teeny tiny little brush, so I got my baby wipes out, and I started spreading that black paint around. And the wood grain of this particular wood round was really pretty, so I decided to just make it more like a black stain, and I used my baby wipe to, uncover some of that pretty wood grain, and so I'm going to leave it like that. So I ended up having a lot of black paint left, so once I got the sides covered and set, I thought, well, I found this little wood round. It's a cutting board, and it was really messed up, but it was at the Goodwill bins the week before, and so I thought, well, I got a lot of extra paint left. I might as well see how far it'll go and see if I can get 2 wood rounds. Instead of doing a double-sided, I'll do 2, and so I since this was an extra one, I decided I'd get a bigger brush. I wanted to show you, how it would be if you used only what was in the kit. So on the original wood round there, I'm not going to use anything extra, but on this one, I did get a bigger brush out to get it ready. Now, I'm going to sand the sides because I want a nice clean edge here on this particular one, our little extra bonus. On this guy, I wanted it dark on the edges, and it looked really nice, so it was ready for stencils. All right, now these stencils are the cardstock kind, and I used these before. I like my folk art die cut stencils, so this is, just fine. And any place that I thought it was a little bit shallow and I might accidentally get some paint on my black stain, I put a little bit of painter's tape just to extend the stencil just a little bit. I'm going to make myself a little palette here. It looked like on the box that they did each stencil a different shade of green for these eucalyptus leaves, but I wanted to do a little bit of shading. Now you can't see the paint, but that's white right there where I'm dabbing that little teeny tiny little sponge dauber. These are not my favorite, but it worked. It did fine. I'll be showing you on the other wood round why I like the other stencil brushes better, but these daubers got the job done. It was fine. It's just you have to work a little bit harder because they don't want to get in the edges, whereas a brush wants to, it's just easier to get into the edges. And so I was trying to fix some of the places that didn't want to go in the edges, and I was using that little brush, which worked great. And I started kind of shading and doing a little work, and I noticed that these acrylics had a little kind of a pearly sheen to them, but they were water soluble. I was kind of doing it like a acrylic painting, but I didn't have any floating medium, so I decided just to use water, which I normally don't do when I use acrylics. But It was water soluble, so I used the water to kind of blend it together, and actually did a really nice job. These paints, blended and mixed well together with a little bit of water. But so here I go. I had a very small amount of the black paint left, and so I'm trying to get it going with a little bit of water, and I'm using it almost like a stain to go on top to just bring out the wood grain where the paint was, and just making a stain from that acrylic paint worked great. It really kind of, made it a little bit rustic and, kind of nice. And that was the end of that one. Beautiful, all with the kit. I'd use nothing extra. Now, here's our little bonus. So I decided to get out my favorite stencil brush. This is my JRV 3/4 inch stencil brush. And the bristles are so soft, but yet they're so dense. They just get in the edges and they're just so easy. Now I decided to use a little antiquing wax. I had some left over in a palette, and I'm not putting it right on the paint, but I love the way antiquing wax looks on black paint. It just gives it a richness that you just you can't get otherwise with just flat black. So I'm putting it all around with a little bit of water. I did water it down a little bit. And then I'm using my baby wipe to just kind of blend it in, got the sides. And this little bonus was used with all the rest of the supplies from that kit. And I just had a little, cutting board from the Goodwill bins. And then I put this one on this, that is roving yarn that I just had wrapped around this square ring from the Dollar Tree. And I think it looks great. I love that kit. I give it 2 thumbs up. I even had extra materials to make the extra little welcome sign, which I love. Awesome. All right. So now that's going to be my next kit right there, that little bumblebee. But I'm not going to do that one in this video. Maybe another one. But I am going to do the punch needle kit right here. And I don't know if you've ever done punch needle before. I have not, but I was intrigued. And so this one, I did get my iPad out, and I did use the QR code to watch this little video. I'm going to show you. Of course, you just open up your camera app and you hover over. You don't take a picture of the QR code. You just hover over it, and then it'll give you a little yellow box, and you click on that, and it'll give you the video. So if you have never done a QR code, that's how you do it. Don't take a picture of the QR code. Just hover your camera over it, and then click on or tap on with your finger that little yellow box, and it'll give you all kinds of good information. Okay, so I'm watching it there on my iPad, and I'm getting it nice and tight. I'm tapping. It says to pull it as firm as a drum. And actually, this video doesn't have any talking on it. It's just music, but it says it in the instructions to tap on it nice and firm. Now, this is the needle. It comes with a threader, that little wire. It's kind of a loop. You fish it through the needle, through the pointed part, and then that's how you thread your needle. There's a hole, and you got to feed it through the hole, and there you go. You're all set to go. Easy peasy. So it comes with that threader. You need that threader. That made it so easy. Pull out the thread out of the bottom, and then I held it just like a pencil. And just keep in mind that the pointy end goes first, so that the yarn is kind of trailing behind the pointed end. So the pointy and like the scoop part of the needle goes forward. And so that your yarn is just trailing behind, and you're just punching away. And I got into a rhythm, and it got, it just wasn't hard at all. I did it all in one day. I'm going to show you the next kit I'm going to do is an embroidery kit, which took me 2 weeks to finish. I knew that one would take a long time, but this one was just a piece of cake. I loved it. All right, so here's the back side. I trimmed it off. And here I'm doing the sand color. Now this kit, I ran out of yarn on all the colors except for the yellow. Every other color, I ran out of yarn. Luckily, I had a Crafter Square white skein of yarn upstairs in my stash. I didn't have to go anywhere, but I did not have a sand color, so I'm going to make a sand color. And actually, I'm really happy that I did not leave the whole skein here in the tea. I'm just using my tea bags from the night before, because I need the white inside the middle of that yarn, because I'm going to run out of white too for the clouds. But so here we go. I'm going to do, there's a light blue and a dark blue for the different shades of the sea, the water, and pull that string through. And then, oh, nope, don't hold it like that. Turn my hand around. There we go. Hold it like a pencil. And just go, go, go. And, of course, this is sped up. I was being kind of methodical, but once you get into a rhythm, I got really going. And I just kind of followed the contour of the lines. All the lines are there. And you can see that 3 right there. All of the yarn is numbered. But of course the picture's right there. It's easy to follow the picture. Now, I baked my yarn so it would get dry, so I was do it all in one day, and I was on a roll, so I wanted to bake it. And I do that at 200 on, the oven's on 200, and I'm working right there at the kitchen counter anyway, so I'm watching it. I don't leave paper or yarn or anything, really food or anything alone, with the oven on. I keep watch on it. All right, but then I ran out of my 2 blues as well, so I used I've got my cake decorating toolbox there, and I've got all my Wilton food color, and I used sky blue to make my blue colors. I thought the sky blue was going to kind of match, and so that's the darker blue. I had to pour out about half of that and add water to make this lighter blue, but I get the lighter blue going, and it goes in the oven as well. All right, so here is my tea-dyed yarn. It actually turned out a little bit darker for the sand, but you know what? It's just shading. It looked fine. And so here I go with the clouds. This is the white that they gave me. And, I watched a couple more videos on punch needle, and a lot of people use the other side, the loopy side, as their front. And, they say to go all the way, let the needle go all the way down. And so that's what I was doing. I must have been using more yarn than they expected me to, because the only yarn I had enough of was that yellow. And so everything else I had to dye some more yarn, because I only had that white. I had other colors. I've got pink, I got purple, I've got red, but I didn't need that for this. So that one skein of white yarn really went a long way. But I love the way that food color, when I color paper and put it in the oven, it kind of gives that variegated look to it. And this actually made this gorgeous. I love this. I think I would much rather have the variegated look on my yarn. Okay, now look, this is the back. And several of the videos that I watched on punch needling as I was doing this, they use the back for their front. And, so that, here I wanted to show you that, honestly, I could have used this side as my front, but I really was kind of shooting for the other side to be my front. So, I had a couple of little flubs on the loopy side, but even some people even cut the loops, and because they made the loops, and evidently the needle comes in different sizes. I mean, they give us a needle in this kit, but evidently there's all kinds of sizes of needles for all different weights of yarn and wool and all kinds of things you can make with punch needling. I mean, it's just a thing. I just had no idea. Thank you, Dollar Tree, for this idea. This has been fun. And I highly recommend this. Look at there. I just put it on. I hot glued it to a little piece of slate I had. And of course, if I want to make this into a pillow or something, I can just peel it right off. The hot glue won't be permanent. But I just love the way it turned out. So that's the side that I was working on. And then the other side was the loopy side. But I love the way that variegated yarn made it look all kind of neat. So, punch needle kit, 2 thumbs up. Painting kit, 2 thumbs up. Now, I'm going to save the third one for a minute. Do you all have on Facebook a Buy Nothing group? You might want to search your area to look for the Buy Nothing group. on your Facebook. We have one here at St. Simon's, and I know Brunswick has one, and I know some other surrounding areas have a Buy Nothing Facebook group, and ours is very popular. And so I got this humongous big chalkboard frame for free from a lady, just a lady on this Facebook site who lives here on the island, and it's a very happening group. Here I am using this chalk finish paint from the Dollar Tree. I used it in my last video too. This is kind of a fun summer color, so I thought this would be nice. It basically was the same color it was already painted, but I just, wanted to freshen up the paint a little bit there. But anyway, so, our Buy Nothing group on Facebook is very active. So you pretty much have to be on Facebook and see the notification come through, because if you're late coming to it and there's a few comments, somebody's already snatched it up. And then you just go pick it up, and it's out of somebody's way, and you've got something new, and it's been great. I've gotten several things on my Buy Nothing. So this was free. And I'm going to use stencils on this, paint and stencils, everything I already had. I didn't have to buy any new stencils. I didn't buy any new paint. I had it all from, previous projects. Now, in the last video, I used that Godfidence stencil from that Bible stencil pack from Amazon. And this time I'm going to use As Great as Thy Faithfulness. And these are folk art die cut stencil packs that I've had and used. You can see I've already used this stencil. And I'm not averse to cutting them up, and, I'm going to use them. Why not? And so I've got these that I'm going to make work on this project. I decided to cut this one as well. And so I'm just kind of doing my layout here from two different folk art stencil packs. I got those at Ollie's, but you can get folk art, these die cut stencil packs at Michael's too. And they're about $10, but, usually I don't buy anything at Michael's unless it's got a coupon or a sale. All right. Now, sometimes if I've used it before, I paint on both sides so it'll be flat. And if it still has a little wonky section, I just use some parchment and flatten it down, and then it does beautifully. Okay. So here I go with my favorite stencil brush and a little bit of plaster chalk paint. That's the color that I have on the paper plate over there. It's hard to see, but I'm just dabbing, easy peasy. And of course, this stencil is, made out of that plastics. And so I'm going to stick it in the sink with some Dawn Power Wash, and it's going to clean up and be brand new again. Using a tiny little brush. I don't like the little stencil lines that are left. So I'm just dabbing those and filling those in so it doesn't look like a stencil made that. Okay, I didn't want that one little line, so I just put a little bit of clear tape on top of it. And I'm just going to center it as best I can. There we go. And then just go to town on this. And I'm a dabber. When, the least amount of paint on your brush. And then just dab. Some people swirl. I don't swirl. I don't have luck with swirling. I have the best luck with just lightly tapping it with very little on my brush. I'd rather go back and do more in the end, but I do it light, and it's always works out. And I love it. Look. Oh, I love this so much. Okay. Now I'm going to take it outside, and I'm going to give it a coat, everything, the frame, the black, picture part. With the Rust-Oleum Clear, I give it 2 coats because I'm going to add some Waverly White Wax. In last week's video with this color, I added white wax to my Godfidence picture, and it was beautiful. So I wanted to try the Waverly White Wax. I used the DIY white wax last week, and it was beautiful, but I wanted to try the more ivory tint of the Waverly, and this was gorgeous too. It all turned out beautiful. I loved it all, whether it's got a little bit of an ivory tinge to it. That's why I used the plaster chalk paint, because I knew I'd be using that wax. Now, this wax was starting to take over, so the clear wax is helping me control that white wax. It wanted to, really white it up. So I use the clear wax to, try to tame the white wax a little bit. And you notice there's no black on my paper towel, and the stencil, of course, is staying put. So the Rust-Oleum Clear, that spray really does a great job. It's one of my favorites. And so the wax, of course, seals it, and so that is finished. And I love the way this turned out. And I just love white wax on anything, whether it's the Waverly or the DIY. And I've used Annie Sloan, love that as well. Looks gorgeous above my mantle. Great is thy faithfulness, amen. Okay, now here is the embroidery one that I started a couple of weeks ago. I knew this one would take a little time. I am a cross stitcher. I do a lot of cross stitch. And if you're wondering what those dots are on my finger, I got this while school was still going on. And the last 5 weeks of school, I always do ukuleles. So that was ukulele chords on my hand. That helps the kids to know where to put their fingers. Okay, so here's the kit. And this kit had everything I needed. I needed to get nothing out of my stash. And the first kit had everything I needed. I needed nothing out of my stash. But the only thing was that yarn in the punch needle kit. Either I was punching too much or too deep, or that just I needed extra yarn. So just keep that in mind with the punch needle. Now I'm going to do the poppies one, the pink poppies punch needle. So I'll have to let you know if I needed yarn on that one. Okay, so it gives you a little, for my flamingo, it gives you a little patch of, like a faux fur for the big wing. And so I'm going to separate my embroidery floss. Embroidery floss comes with 6 strands together, and I like to use 2 at a time. So I separate my embroidery floss, and I was just sewing on. Here's the instructions. I was going to show you some pictures of the instructions. It gives all the stitches, which colors and which stitches. Now, I use my mouth. I don't suggest anybody do that, but I do, and I'm not ashamed to tell you. That's why it was kind of weird like that. But I hold one end with my mouth while I separate them. Otherwise, they're going to get tangled. And then I pull with one hand, and I keep straightening out the strands with the other hand, and it pulls it out without making tangles. So I'm using 2 strands at a time here. Okay, now this, the main body and the legs were this stitch where it was, what did they call this one? The forward. I showed you in a picture a minute ago, but I was saying something. But anyway, it's a forward, it's kind of it's a layered stitch. And you could do this anywhere. Here I am, I'm having a PET scan done, and I had it on my lap. You have to wait for about an hour until the isotope kind of gets through your system. And so I just sewed, and I got a lot of the body done during that. It's one of the nice things about having, something in a frame where you can just take it with you. You're waiting somewhere, waiting to pick up your kids, or you're in the car line or something. This is a great little thing. Okay, now that spiderweb stitch, that was the only stitch that I kind of messed up on. This one, you do 5 spokes, and then it looked like to me on the picture and the instructions that you went under every spoke. But since after doing 2 of them, those 2 over there, I'm trying the way I saw on Sarah Humphrey's embroidery. She showed she does all kinds of stitches. And you go you go under every other spoke, and that makes the rows. And so here on the yellow one, I'm doing it correctly. I'm skipping. And so now I've got roses. The 2 pink ones over there, they look fine. I mean, if you look closely, you could probably tell that I went under every spoke. But anyway, it looks fine. Okay, now the leaves are called a cretin stitch and then a satin stitch. So some of the leaves were cretin and some of them were satin. You can see the leaves up there. And so this is the cretin stitch. It's kind of a woven stitch in the middle, which kind of gives that almost that leaf-like texture. And then a few of them were satin stitches, which are pretty easy to do. And then the stems to the leaves are all backstitch. And that is an easy stitch. That's kind of just like a straight stitch, but you come back on it. It kind of locks the stitch in. I don't know if I might at some point, this is not an embroidery channel, but it is DIY. I do lots of DIYs. I might slow it down and show you a little bit more of the stitches. I'm just doing a kind of a overview. Now, I did get pretty good at my French knots. So the middle of these little white flowers, you pull up, you wrap twice around your needle, 1, 2, put the needle right back down into that knot and pull it gently down. Don't pull it all the way. So it has a nice little knot on top, 1, 2, back down through the middle of the knot. And then you put the needle back in and pull it just till it's right together, not till it's tight. And then to tie off my stitches, I just kind of sew under what's back there. And then I trim it. It's not going in the washing machine. It's not going, I try to keep it all within the stitches so that when I put it in a frame like this, you don't see any crazy under colors going under the white. I love it. Look at my cute little flamingo. He turned out so cute. Okay, now my fifth DIY for the 5 under 5 is this frame that I made over for my flamingo. I found this at the Restore, and I thought, oh, you're kind of pretty. And so for $3, I put a piece of decoupage paper in it for Christmas and had it in my hutch. But I took out my decoupage paper, use pretty, save you. And I decided to give this green and gold frame a makeover. So I had my plaster chalk paint I keep at all times. If it even gets low, I put it on the grocery list because I get it when I go to Walmart. And so I keep that as a staple in my craft stash. 3 coats always, especially since I'm going to be wet distressing. And when you wet distress, you're rubbing off. So that's why I want a good solid 3 coats on there. But it's not set. I just finished painting it. I used my heating tool to dry it. So it is fresh paint. And so wet distressing with a baby wipe and this little fine grit nail file was so easy. So easy to do because it was not a cured chalk paint. Once chalk paint cures, you're gonna need a sanding paper. You're some kind of sanding nail file or sanding sponge or something, because a baby wipe just ain't gonna do it. But since this was fresh paint, it wet distressed great. And then I used just a little bit of gold rub and buff just on the edges. I just rubbed it flat onto my finger and then just barely touched it to the raised areas. I didn't push in at all, no buffing, just rubbing. And I was just wanting a light little touch of gold just to give our flamingo something special. And that was it. I had to cut a piece of cardstock. I might have to go back and see if I can find a better color. This cardstock matches the paint on our walls, so I thought that would look nice. Setting it on the mantle or putting in the hutch, so it would match our walls, the paint. It's a sand is the name of the paint. And so I'm just using that as a little mat because the fabric that they gave me was not tall enough for this oval frame. And I thought the oval looked really pretty with framed up our little flamingo real nice. So I just added that little piece of cardstock and then just taped it. Put it in there. And I end up putting, I end up putting a piece. I could see a little shadow of that black backing. So I went ahead and put some more of that brighter cardstock in the back. And I love it. I put them on these, all this on these brass easels that I have thrifted. And they were not all even because they were not, I guess I didn't buy them at the same time. I found them at different times. So I'm going to show you here how I fixed that. This frame was leaning way back So I just took the slate and the frame and I put hot glue in layers until I liked the angle that they were sitting. And I like to, even if you can catch it, you know, when it was still just a little bit, you know, moist, and kind of sink it into the easel a little bit, then, you know, it makes it real secure. And I did that on both of those. It didn't need it. The easel on the welcome sign didn't need it. So I just made these to be, you know, angled the same as that welcome sign. I want to thank Emily from Farm Charm Chic and Tammy from Happiness Created. Be sure to check out that playlist and their channels. There's going to be lots of talented creators in this playlist. I love the 5 Under 5 challenge every month. So those craft kits, I give them 2 thumbs up. I really enjoyed the embroidery. You know, it took me a while. It was kind of a, you know, work on it while we're watching TV, or, you know, like I say, in waiting rooms, waiting on, you know, doctor's appointments and whatnot. It's just a nice little craft I can keep in my little, keep in a baggie or keep in my purse and work on. And I just really enjoyed it. This punch kit was just so fast. It just was so easy to do. I'm going to explore that kit, that craft a little bit more. But that embroidery, there's a reason why this has stood the test of time and dates back to medieval times, because it is just fun. It's just a neat thing to do. And so I want to leave you with great is thy faithfulness. The scripture is from 1 John chapter 4, verse 7. Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Thank you for watching. Please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel, and God bless. And I'll